2, 1.
You're watching Meet the Movie Press. Today we're going to be talking about Ghostbusters, Javier Bardem as Frankenstein, Pokemon Go movie, and the return of the Saw franchise.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
Good morning, Simon.
I was just looking. It wasn't porn.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't porn. Yeah, a little bit of porn.
Neck crane. How are you this morning, big guy?
I'm good. Yeah, a very busy week.
Yeah, plenty to talk
Very
about
busy
today.
week. Yeah.
And fortunately, you guys have us to talk about it with. I'm Jeff Sneider, host of Meet the Movie Press. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheInSneider. Simon?
My name is Simon Thompson. You can find me on various platforms with my work and at Twitter, Showbiz Simon, and at Instagram, Showbiz Simon, and on Facebook, this is Simon Thompson.
Various platforms. Does that include like XTube?
Mostly XTube, some PornTube, and some other ones as well.
Wow.
I think, by the way,
Yep.
we could cash in this week. I think we're the only film journalists left in America because everyone else appears to be at Star Wars.
Star Wars
in
celebration.
London! Star Wars in London!
We're
Bloody
celebrating.
Jedis! Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
So I think everyone is there, it appears. Although
Yeah.
next week...
I still didn't get invited to anything today, so...
Well, talking of invites, I will be at Comic-Con next week. It's my first one. I've never been to Comic-Con before.
Neither have I.
So I'm quite excited, stroke scared. I don't know what to expect exactly, but it should be fun. We're looking forward to it.
Well, I hope that you have a great time. I will be back in Boston, so we will have no show next week, which is why we have to
Correct.
make this one extra special. And how else to do that besides talking about
Films?
the Ghostbusters?
Yes.
The movie's out.
It's finally
it is
out.
in theaters right now to be judged.
Which I'm really glad about, because then people can actually see it, or not see it if you don't want to see it, and we can stop bitching about it.
I teased my thoughts on the film last week.
Yeah.
You have finally seen it.
I've not only seen it, but I paid to see it last
Wow,
night.
okay. Well, we are going... You know, I heard, though, that a lot of people did not get invited to Ghostbusters. There was some griping online
Well,
on my Facebook.
I didn't get invited, but then I asked to be invited, and I did get an invite to a very crowded screening this week, so thank you to Sony for that. But I couldn't go because I went to see Star Trek Beyond that night instead.
Wow,
because I interviewed
big
Carl
decision.
Urban this week. So
Okay, so you had to do that movie for
I
work.
had to give that priority,
All
but
right. You did your duty to the show.
Did my
You went
duty to
last
the
night.
show. I went to the show, and I did my duty for being a journalist that cannot be accused of being paid by a film company
What
to
did you
review
think?
the film. I really enjoyed it. And I look at what I enjoy out of a movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I listen to the audience, which is why I sometimes actually like to go and watch these movies, even if I've seen it for free with an audience. The audience last night, I went to see it at the ArcLight in Hollywood, and they loved it. They were absolutely lapping it up.
What'd you do, a poll?
You could just
felt
hear
it.
them. There were
Felt it.
people genuinely laughing, men and women. So it's not just, it's women, only women will like it. It was genuinely a mixed crowd, probably 50-50 men and women, everything from quite young through to sort of, 40-50. And they were loving it. They were lapping it up. Now, do I think it's a perfect film? No, I don't. I think there are several flaws with it and several things that don't quite work. Is it a bad film? It is definitely not a bad film. I enjoyed it way more than I was expecting to. I went into it with some reservations, but I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. You very soon forget that this is not the 1980s Ghostbusters. You get over that within about 10 minutes. It just feels... No, it does. Once they've established this is a Ghostbusters movie, it starts to find itself, and it pulls its own jokes, and it develops its own characters. And do I think the chemistry between the leads is spot on? Sometimes I think that falls down. Do I think the script is as strong all the way through the movie? No, I think it starts off very strong, and I think it loses its way a little bit, and the third act is kind of not quite what it should be, but I certainly enjoyed the movie and I found it very funny. And Chris Hemsworth, I absolutely loved.
Isn't that a problem though when you're leaving the Ghostbusters movie and you're raving about Chris Hemsworth? Because
No, because I wasn't him to be particularly good. What I went in there with my expectation was that this was going to be Melissa McCarthy vehicle. Out of all the Ghostbusters, she's one of the main characters in the Ghostbusters, but she actually doesn't take the fall. It's McKinnon and it's Leslie Jones that take the fall, and I really like that.
So I thought that the movie was okay.
Okay.
I found it to be disappointing, and I think
Okay.
Peter Charette at Slash Film did a great job sort of expressing how I felt about the movie, at least. You know, Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig are both very gifted physical comedians.
Yep.
I don't think, and they had great chemistry in Bridesmaids. I don't think that they had the same chemistry here. In fact, I found both their characters a little boring outside of a few moments. I loved Kate McKinnon. I can see criticisms of how her character seems like she's out of a completely different movie tone-wise.
Yeah.
But I had a blast with Kate McKinnon. She by far was the standout to me, and Leslie Jones was all right. I still thought it was a shame that they stuck to that original Ghostbusters formula of like introducing the black character a half an hour into the movie or whatever.
Yeah.
And I get, you know, it's natural where she fits into the plot and when, but I don't know. I would have liked maybe to have. I wanted to see more of these characters and their home lives.
Well,
and I don't know.
And I agree with that 100%. But to turn that into a positive, it did make me at the end of the movie go, actually, I would really like to see where this goes. Is this the strong? I had this conversation with some of the guys here earlier. Is this a film that you go, that's the strongest film I want to see a sequel to? No, it is not. That is not this movie. Is it a film where I'm like, okay, I'm now intrigued. I would like to see what and they set it up for a sequel. And I think everybody knows there is a sequel written. It's about whether it gets greenlit or not.
Right.
So work is underway on that, you know, quite far down the road. But it did make me think, actually, I have enough interest in these characters. I want to see where some of them go. And then I thought, actually, it's quite nice that they don't come entirely fully formed here, because it does give you a chance to, when you do a sequel, you can switch the dynamic a little bit. You can change. You can have some fun with that. You can go into backstories.
I want to see more of Patty's family, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the characters, there's a lot more to them than I...
What do you think about the cameos? This movie's just stuck with cameos.
Yeah.
Half of them don't work. Some of them are just lazy.
You see, the cameos, it's lovely to see the Ghostbusters in there, but I think it would have been to me, I'm not a Hollywood screenwriter, but to me, I would have preferred it if they'd have done them either as the original Ghostbusters in some way, or not had them in it at all, because I had the idea for the second one where there was the original concept of the older Ghostbusters handing over to the new Ghostbusters. I think that would have worked, but now they've been introduced as other characters and cameos. You can't do that. That's off the table. It wasn't terrible, but it just, when they came in, it reminded me of the first Ghostbusters.
Right.
More than in the way with the homages.
And that's not a flattering comparison. No. And I mean, I agree that they should have just been kept out. This movie gets caught between paying homage to the first film and hitting all these different... I think it was Matt Singer at Screen Crush who did a great job compiling all the Easter eggs, the little nods to the original. I wish they'd kind of just gone in their own direction. I found the villain in this to be very weak. That whole plot, and even the casting. You know, if you're gonna go that route, get a Patton Oswalt.
You see,
I just didn't care for Neil Casey, and then it all becomes this CGI garbage festival at the end, just like every other Sony movie, essentially. Whether it's Tentpole, Goosebumps, Pixels, Amazing Spider-Man 2. And a lot of Hollywood, whether Batman vs. Superman, X-Men. Now, those two movies, I got a lot of flack for this. I was blocking Batman vs. Superman fans because people were like, what does Ghostbusters have to do with those movies? I'm like, well, they're all tentpoles this summer. So, you know, they essentially get grouped together. Those are bad films, Batman vs. Superman and X-Men Apocalypse. I did not think that Ghostbusters was bad. I just didn't think it fulfilled its potential.
No, but I think that it can count as a positive by the fact that it didn't fulfill its potential means that if they do a sequel, it can add to that. And there are films that have done that in the past with sequels. Sometimes they don't.
And I'm looking forward to the sequel. And people were like, well, how can you be looking forward to a sequel to a movie that you didn't really enjoy? And it's like, I think that the elements are in place now and they've gotten all the introduction stuff out of the way. It's like, it's the same problem almost that Fantastic Four had. Problems with tone. They spend so much time introducing the characters that there's not enough, meat on the bones. What did you think of all the CGI, though? It just...
You see, at moments, I thought it was... I actually quite enjoyed it.
You did 2D or 3D?
I went to see 2D
because I saw the price of a 3D. Very good, though.
Well, so have I, but I saw the price of a 3D ticket last night, and I was like, I don't really want to sell a liver. But I do want to see it, so I will hopefully go and watch it in 3D at some point, because it's for me, it's something that I want to rewatch. I think there are things that I didn't quite get, and I want to find some more in it.
I'd be fine never seeing this movie again.
No, you see, I'm at a point where I'd like to look for some additional bits in there. But no, I saw it in 2D. I thought the CGI was. I like the CGI in the most part. There are some moments where it felt a little bit like I was watching one of the Scooby-Doo movies.
None of the ghosts were memorable, I felt like.
No, that is a criticism. But I think, again, it leaves it open for this sequel that's sitting on a shelf at Sony to fill in on that. But I think this is what we've discussed in previous weeks, where I think we're reaching a point with CGI where it, and again with general effects, where sometimes they're now so polished they just look fake. And I just think obviously they are fake because they're CGI, they're computer-generated images. But
and ghosts don't exist.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I just think they're now too polished. I think we just need to roughen it up, pull it back a bit and roughen it up.
It did about 3.5 last night.
Yeah.
Roughly, which is, decent.
Yeah.
But I still think that this movie's going to underperform. It's probably going to open 40 to 50 million.
Yeah.
I think a Ghostbusters movie honestly should be opening around 70.
And there was talk of it opening around that 70, 80. But I don't think this is not the terrible film that people were expecting. There are people who are still going to hate it because it's a remake of Ghostbusters.
And because
they're
people
not
are misogynist assholes. Yeah,
they're not going to change their opinions.
The problems of this movie had nothing to do with the gender of the Ghostbusters or the 4 actresses chosen to play the Ghostbusters. The problem lies in the... Honestly, and I hate to say this because I love this guy, the uncreative script by Paul Feig and Katie Dippold, of course. But, this is Paul's show, Paul's baby, and to me, it's a clear disappointment.
You see, I didn't have a massive problem with the script. I think the problem with the script for me came from the fact that I do like it when Paul lets rip. And I think being restricted by a slightly lower certificate...
Melissa McCarthy felt reined in, other than one scene where Kristen Wiig gets to go nuts.
Yeah.
She's reined in. And someone brought it up, like, why wasn't she the one possessed? Because she's like a mad woman. She would have been interesting to see possessed. I don't know. Just didn't love it. It never soared. So and it's not getting released in China. That's a big deal for this movie. China has a thing about ghosts.
Yeah.
Culturally. So, but that's a huge blow. Like, that's 20 or 30 million, maybe even more off the table.
It does then make it an issue for piracy because the people in China want to see the movie.
Of course.
There's an audience for it in China.
This movie's going to get ripped the hell off to no end.
But
basically, do you do a sequel to this movie? Basically, like, well, screw the haters. We're moving forward with our franchise plans anyways. Or is it like, shit, this movie could lose $100 million, so we can't do a sequel to it?
No, I think do a sequel to the movie because I think...
Even if it loses money. A lot of money.
I don't think it'll lose a lot of money. I think it'll break even or it'll do well. I don't think it'll do phenomenal. We're not looking at a $1 billion movie here.
The budget is $144 after tax credits, $180 before the tax credits. Of course, that's what Sony is admitting to publicly.
Sure.
You can never, let me tell you this, if you're an aspiring journalist out there, you can never believe any budget that any studio gives you ever. If they're copying to a number, that's not the number, trust me.
Okay, MK Songbird in the chat is asking, do we think that the PG-13 rating hurt the comedy of the film, which was what we were just talking about? Yeah, I think it does. I think Paul's held back a little bit. But I would, and as you agree, you would like to have seen them let rip.
Well, that's
the
thing.
More.
He's caught between sort of essentially entertaining adults
who
are really almost the target audience, original Ghostbusters fans, people familiar with the franchise, and luring in a new generation and keeping it family friendly.
Well, here's the thing with the new generation thing, because at the end of the movie, after the credits, there is a post-credit sequence.
Yeah.
Okay. And that makes a reference to something that we've seen in the first Ghostbusters movie and something which I would like to see feature in the sequel.
Why? Why tell the same story? It's like, that's what I don't get. Why not just...
There were people, my point is, there were people who, when it was mentioned, did not know what it was.
Of course they didn't. Yeah.
There is a massive audience of people who are coming to this as fresh people open to the franchise who I think will carry this through. There will be enough people who want to go and see this, and they won't be so attached to it as we are as people who grew up in the 80s.
We'll see. I'll be very curious to see how well this movie performs this weekend and going forward the rest of summer, if it's going to have legs or if Suicide Squad is basically going to come in a couple of weeks and just squash this movie.
I think it's going to be hit by stuff like that, but I think there's going to be enough positive word of mouth.
Too. Oh, man, this movie has to make a lot of money in a very short amount of time.
I enjoyed it. I took my wife.
Okay.
She doesn't usually like this kind of movie. She hasn't seen Ghostbusters. She really enjoyed it.
I didn't hate it either. Listen,
out of 10, what would you give it as a out of 10?
Like a 6. It's not a good movie.
I would give it a 6.5. 6.5, maybe 7, because I think it is flawed. But I had a great time watching it. It kept me really entertained.
The number of things are hard for me. What letter grade would you give it?
I'd give it a B.
Okay,
B
yeah,
plus.
I'm at like a C plus. So, well, I guess we're not that far off. But
No.
you're skewing on the positive side, and as always, I'm skewing on the negative. We have to move on from Ghostbusters because probably most of our audience hasn't even had a chance to see it. What they have had a chance to do this week is catch a lot of fucking Pokemon.
Yes.
And Hollywood is now going apeshit for a Pokemon Go movie. I got a call yesterday, and my sources are telling me that the Legendary deal is done.
Yeah.
That Legendary has acquired the feature rights to Pokemon. What's the story? Have you been playing?
I have been playing, yeah, because everybody was talking about it, so I thought, well, I have to kind of have some hands-on experience.
I think this shit is so stupid, but I did create an avatar and start playing.
I find it really weird, though, where the Pokemon are turning up, because, like, my local synagogue has Pokemon, and I'm like, okay, great.
There's Pokemon everywhere.
Yeah, there's some really inappropriate places that Pokemon have turned up.
Right, you're like...
Yeah,
like
I was watching the Euro Cup final the other day in a bar in Hollywood, and I just landed the game, so I was scanning the bar to see where I could find Pokemon. There were this couple like making out, and then sitting on this woman's lap was a Pokemon. I'm holding my phone to this couple making out, and I'm like,
crotch shot.
and I'm like, sorry, I'm not taking a picture of you making out. There's a Pokemon, and they're like, what
Isn't this creepy and weird though?
Oh yeah.
Like, I found myself out on a street corner, like, taking photos, and, like, people are like, what are you taking a photo of?
But you've also got people who are...
an imaginary creature.
Well, you've also got people who don't get out very often, who are now leaving their homes. You know, they're like fucking mogwai.
I guess that's a good thing.
Bright light! Yeah, and they're getting out there and they're doing this stuff. I spoke to a Lyft driver the other day, like an Uber driver, and he was saying that he has got rides from people who are just ordering lifts to drive around to catch Pokemon.
There are people advertising their services as like on Craigslist as like, I am a Pokemon driver. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's quite the craze. I don't know whether that will translate to success for a Pokemon movie.
Well, I mean, I wrote a piece on this for Forbes this week.
Tell us, what did your piece say?
What did I write? And I'll put it in the links after YouTube. In the show notes. Put it in the show notes, everybody. I think it's inevitable that this is it's too big of a phenomenon. But my point is the fact that I think they'll make a movie. I think they need to make the movie pretty sharpish. It needs to come out in the next 18 months. Because even though films like Angry Birds have been successful, and there are other franchises like that as well, and, bigger games franchises, not just apps, that have taken a while to come out. And Angry Birds did well this year, but it's probably 5 years after the height of the popularity of that app.
This is like nothing the App Store has ever seen.
No. So I think if they're going to make it, they need to do it, and they need to do it quickly. They don't want to leave it to gestate like Warcraft and perhaps over-polish this.
Is this going to be for the adults who are out there catching these Pokemon, or is it going to be a kids' movie?
I think it's going to be something in the middle, because this is something very different to what we've seen with Pokemon before. You've always got the gaming community who are of a variety of ages, but this has captured people who don't do gaming. It's like when the Nintendo DS came out. People who don't do gaming suddenly bought a Nintendo DS, and they were playing with their DS all the time. It became, Pokemon Go, within a week, has become part of pop culture speak. It's a conversation starter. It's right in there.
It really is insane. It's everywhere you look.
And so I think this appeals to an audience that is just beyond the gaming crowd, just beyond the young crowd, into the older audience as well. And I mean by older audience, I mean the post-25 audience. So I think, yeah, but it's whether those people stay interested in it long enough for when the film comes out, or if it's longer than 18 months, that audience are going to go, bleh, okay, we're millennials, we're going to move on to something else. We move on very quickly.
Yeah, I guess I grew up in the age of Pokemon, but I never paid attention to any of the mythology. It all seems like nonsense to me. But who would you have voice Pikachu?
Is Dwayne Johnson available?
Good answer.
I'm just wondering. I don't know if he's got much work at the moment.
Speaking of Dwayne,
I'm kidding.
I was going to save this towards the end of the show, though, but I watched the first 5 episodes of Ballers.
Yeah.
Season 2.
I saw
Did
your
you watch
tweets
the first
about this.
season?
No, I haven't, no.
Yeah, it's a fun show. It's sort of like It's Entourage instead of Hollywood. It's the world of athletics. But I really enjoyed it. I think it is the best thing that The Rock has actually ever done.
Well, other people I think should do it. I think it's without
Should
a
do
doubt
what?
with the voice Pikachu.
Oh, okay.
We're going to see. I think within a couple of days we're going to see rumors about Josh Gad, and we're going to see rumors about Kevin Hart.
Is Pikachu definitely male?
I don't
You
know.
know who has the best voice?
Oh my God!
Did you
They're gonna reboot Pikachu and make it a woman.
You know who has a great voice,
Nothing
though?
is sacred.
Did you see Mike and Dave?
No.
I liked Mike and Dave. Their sister, who's getting married, whose
Yeah.
titular wedding it is, the actress who plays her Sugar Lynn Beard, I believe. She has like this very high pitched, squeaky voice. I think it would be perfect for Pikachu.
What Rosario?
You could have a woman voicing a male character. Why not?
Who was the
a
the
voice.
woman? It's not Rosario Dawson. Who was in the everything in the 90s? Hey, she's Hispanic and she had a really whiny.
Rosie Perez?
Rosie Perez.
She's
Come
that would be
on.
hilarious.
Could you imagine? What about Gilbert Godfrey? Oh my God! And Harvey Firestein.
Okay.
Harvey Firestein.
He gets to whip out the Harvey
they
impression
sound the same
again.
when they come
Thank
out of
you.
my mouth, but that'd be great.
All right, elsewhere,
Yeah.
let's move it along. Our boy Justin Kroll dropped
Yeah.
a story this week about Javier Bardem.
Yes. I was
potentially
very excited
playing
about this news.
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Now, he wouldn't necessarily get his own movie, which is odd to me, but he would pop up in, other classic monsters movies throughout the universe
Yeah.
there. Including, I imagine, Bride of Frankenstein, for which they're trying to get Angelina Jolie. Javier Bardem, there has been some confusion online. I think some people thought he was playing the Doctor. I'm still not 100% sure, but I believe he's playing the monster.
Okay. He would physically fit
I think
that.
it'd be fucking amazing,
Yeah.
man. This is incredible, the way that, Universal is building, taking the building blocks for this universe.
Yeah.
And I like that it is all a little bit older, more established actors. It's true movie stars in that sense, not necessarily flashes in the pan. Javier Bardem, I felt like already played Frankenstein in No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
He was just sort of lumbering around with that terrible haircut. I can totally see he'd be perfect. You like it?
Yeah, it was a perfect fit for me. I'd be amazed. When it's funny, sometimes people talk about casting for a role, and then it's really difficult to actually see anybody else in that role. And to me, it was just like, boom, fitted it. But then I was the same way about Benicio del Toro and The Wolfman, which I think I don't hate that movie.
Yeah, no,
You
it's
know,
not, it's
and
not
I
a
thought
great
he fitted
movie,
that
though.
really well. But if they're going to give it to Javier, give him his own movie. Why not? I mean, we're looking at look at the lineup of these Universal monsters that we're seeing coming through. Tom Cruise is in a franchise. You've got Russell Crowe. You've got
Johnny Depp. We'll
Johnny
see if that
Depp.
sticks.
Javier Bardem. This is
And Jolie.
yeah, and Jolie. This is a
Potentially.
strong lineup. It's a strong lineup, and it's people
I'll
I would
say.
love to see together on screen. I'd love that.
I mean, I think everyone had their doubts probably about Universal rebooting the classic monsters. And again,
I did.
I certainly
Especially
did.
after
And again,
Dracula
we have
Untold.
to wait to see. Oh, that movie was
I love Luke, but that was not a great movie.
terrible. I lost my train of thought. No, I think I'm very curious about the tone of these movies. Are they actually going to be scary? Or are they going to be 4-quadrant blockbusters, that kind of thing? Either way, I love how it's coming together. Donna Langley doing a great job.
I think they'll be
building it
scary
out.
enough. I don't think they're going to be horror. But let's be honest, if you look at the original movies, a lot of those are chilling and suspenseful, but they're not terrifying. And they weren't terrifying when they came out. They were low, they weren't exactly R-rated movies. So I think it'll be done cleverly. I've got very high hopes for The Mummy, but I'm a Tom Cruise fan.
Yeah,
so.
no, me too. I'm pumped for The Mummy.
Yeah.
Kroll last week dropped a story right after we ended our show. He had wanted to do it while we were on the air. Kiersey Clemons
Yeah.
from Dope is the choice for the female lead in The Flash.
Yeah.
You like that?
I like that a lot.
Me too. I
like that a lot.
She's interesting. She's different. I like the interracial thing with her
Yeah.
and Ezra Miller. Assuming that it'll be there'll be a romance there. I think she's been tipped to play Iris West, right?
Yeah, as
that
far
it?
as I believe, but there's nothing about the cast and director of Dope that I don't like. I just thought that was such a well put together movie.
By the way, why the fuck isn't Hollywood casting Shamik Moore?
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
good point. I mean, you could take literally most people out of Dope, you know, from production and through to cast, and they would just work well. It's such an underestimated and unappreciated film. It's so good.
Yeah, she was so good. She was good. I think
it's amazing to look at as well.
Yeah, she's a beautiful girl. I think that she'll fit into the Flash nicely. What else? The Spierig brothers are doing Saw Legacy. They got tapped for that job.
Yeah.
What do you think about Saw coming back? Are you a fan of that franchise? Do you rush out every October to see these, or you don't
I
care?
did. Yeah, I did. I can't lie.
You've seen them all?
I have seen them all. I've got to catch them all.
So have I.
Yeah, I like them, and I revisit the films even though I know what's happening. You know,
revisit them?
I revisit them if they're on, or I've got a couple of hours on Netflix. I'll watch. I like the Saw movie.
I cannot even. I love. Listen, Saw's a masterpiece to me. The original Saw is brilliant.
Not everything I watch.
And I guess I've
classic.
seen Saw 2 twice.
Yeah.
How are you ever watching Saw 3 through 5 a second time?
I just enjoy them. Even the shitty ones, I just enjoy them. But no, I'm excited about the franchise coming back.
Me too, actually.
And the guys, obviously, as you mentioned, attached to it. They did a film called Predestination.
I didn't see that one. That's the one
nobody
with Ethan
really
Hawke
saw
and
it,
Sarah
to be
Snook?
honest with you. Yeah, and it was really good.
Because I've seen their other stuff and I have not been a fan, like at all.
Predestination, I really, really liked. I really
Their
wasn't
movies
that aware
have a
of
look,
them.
at least.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who makes these fucking Saw movies. Let's be serious.
No.
There's James Wan, who's a good director, and he made the first one.
But he's not coming back.
No, and then there's all the other crap.
Yeah.
Which...
But the thing
doesn't
is,
matter who directs these fucking Saw movies.
a lot of the Saw movies is the key components are the script and the direction and the visualization of it. And I think visually they got into a little bit of a rut. It all felt a little bit visually samey. You were like, you're just here to do a job. It's like sending someone to Trader Joe's to get some milk. They come back with milk. You know exactly what you're getting.
There's a few people I would have rather seen do this.
Who's on that list?
I mean, I'd have to go down it, but like young horror directors, essentially, not necessarily these guys. Either way, it doesn't really matter. I don't think. They just need to reboot. It's about the storyline and whether they can reboot that Jigsaw mythology because they need somebody else.
I can't remember their names, but the films they directed were recently. It was on Netflix. Hush.
Oh, Mike Flanagan.
Yes, Mike Flanagan.
I'm not his biggest
you
fan
see,
either.
I liked Hush. I think that would be good.
I liked Hush too.
And
it
also,
was the best thing he's done.
Film that came out a few years ago, Splinter, which was another great horror movie that a lot of people didn't see. And that director, I think, could handle this particularly well because he managed to ramp up the tension and fear in that.
I feel like if you gave me 5 minutes to do some research, I'd come up with some better names than the Spierig brothers. But what's done is done.
Yep.
And I'm just glad that there will be a Saw movie in theaters next October.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I've got to rewatch them all again now.
Yeah.
No, I don't. But yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see what happens. So.
All right, so it's time for me to drop that little scooplet that I had sort of teased on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm expecting some breaking news from one of the trades, but I haven't seen it yet. So let's break some news of our own. All right, the following is to be taken as rumor, pure conjecture, utter speculation, and to be taken with a giant grain of salt. But a couple months ago, I feel like I went on AMC Movie Talk, and I brought up some casting rumors for Shane Black's Predator.
Yes, you did.
The word back then was that Ben Affleck was Shane's top choice to star, and that the backups were people like Christian Bale and Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
You know, real A-lister, pretty man's man kind of guys. So now I've got a new contender for the lead in Predator.
Is it Dwayne Johnson? Is it Kevin Hart? Okay, spit it out.
It is neither Dwayne Johnson or Kevin Hart.
Oh my God, they're making the Predator a woman.
Although the idea of Dwayne Johnson doing Predator would be fucking amazing.
I know, right?
No, so the actor that I've heard who had, maybe he's not Shane Black's top choice, but the powerhouse agency, CAA, Creative Artists Agency, they are pushing the name James Franco to star in Predator. He is very high on a list. That's all I know at this point.
Is that a list of people they would like to do the role, or people that are not suitable for the role?
I'm saying like every agency, if they're getting behind, one guy, saying Shane, you got to take a look at this guy. We got to put our client in front of you.
Yeah.
CAA's, who's one of the top two agencies, is James Franco. Now here's the other thing. So James Franco starred in Planet of the Apes.
He did,
for Fox.
Yeah.
He also stars in Fox's big Christmas comedy, Why Him, with Bryan Cranston.
Correct.
Which I think Fox feels very confident about dropping trailers this week or last week.
Yep.
You know? So Fox seems to like the James Franco
Audiences seem
brand.
to like James Franco.
They do. It would be pretty interesting. I think Shane Black wants to do someone a little bit different.
Do you know what? He's not someone that I would immediately have thought of in connection with the project. But if you think about it, I actually do. I'm intrigued by that idea. It depends on what the script and what the idea of the story is. Because if they're looking for someone who's going to come in as a balls-to-the-wall, big buff action star, I don't know whether Franco would fit that well. But if they're looking to do something, dare I say, a bit more interesting and cerebral...
But if Franco buffed up, I don't know. I mean, it's not like he's going to be playing another fucking scientist or whatever like he did in Planet of the Apes.
Might be a buff scientist.
Yeah,
I'm a professor of buffism. I would definitely be interested in that. And I think he would bring something to it that is slightly more, as I say, cerebral than perhaps the previous Predator movies.
Yeah,
I like that.
Again,
I'm okay with that.
That's the rumor. That's the word on the street. We'll see if CA ends up getting its way and convincing Shane Black to go in the James Franco direction. Moving on, Matt Damon has said that he would play a superhero.
He did.
If and only if his friend Ben Affleck is directing it.
And
what do you know? Ben Affleck is directing a superhero movie.
Say
soon.
what?
Whoa.
Yeah, this was in an interview with the Irish Examiner this week, and it was picked up by a number of outlets, including the AV Club. I would be up for that. I'm really surprised that hasn't already spoken to him about doing... I think he would make a great Robin.
I promise you that the Matt Damon as Aquaman rumors were true at one point.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. I would like to see him as Robin, opposite Ben Affleck's. I mean, it's a little bit like, Kevin Smith's movie.
But that would be quite the role reversal. Because it was always like Damon and Affleck. And now Damon's going to come play Ben's sidekick? I don't know about that.
But what's to say that then doesn't lead to a Robin movie?
If I was Matt Damon, and here I think, superhero, I think can go two ways. Like it's superhero... And there's like villain weaved into that. I think what he means is I would do a comic book movie if Ben was directing.
Okay.
Because it's like...
we haven't seen him do a villain.
Ben Affleck's directed Batman movie. There's not going to be like another big superhero in it unless it is Robin. Matt Damon as the villain in a Ben Affleck directed Batman movie. That would be fucking awesome. And see these guys go head to head against each other rather than always play buddy-buddy. That would be cool.
That would be cool. We haven't seen Damon. Have we ever seen Damon do a proper villain?
Nothing's coming to mind.
Nothing comes to mind.
I think he has, though.
Maybe nothing certainly springs to mind initially, but I would love to see
one. I mean,
that.
Yeah.
Nightwing or Arkham Knight are two recommendations from Kevin Santos.
That's another thing where it was, I don't know. Anyway, staying in the DC universe for a little bit, Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
We're less than a month away. I'm so fucking excited. I may even be employed by the time this movie comes out.
Say what?
In which case I'd get to write about it.
Lovely.
But today or yesterday we had reports that Suicide Squad is tracking for a $125 million opening.
Yep.
Good for those guys. Hell of a marketing campaign.
Would be biggest August opening ever because currently that's held by Guardians of the Galaxy.
Come on, that doesn't mean
I know,
it's
but
August.
94.3 is Guardians of the Galaxy, which is the biggest one.
Definitely going to blow right past.
But if you look at other openers of the year, certainly in this genre of film, you're looking at Captain America was 179 million, Deadpool in February was 132 million. So the 135 million is around.
What'd you do? Fucking research for this shit?
I've done it. I did a Google.
That's Simon Thompson. That's our boy.
I've got the numbers.
His homework.
I've got the numbers. I'm a British guy. I'm always a Swatty. But yeah, so it would be below Captain America, but around stroke above potentially Deadpool, which I think is doable.
And again, tracking is always to me on the low side because you're not tracking everyone who wants to go see this. So,
but also, I mean, I'm genuinely excited about Suicide Squad.
Pumped.
But the advertising for
If
me.
only so I can stop seeing 18 million images every day on a new site.
I've stopped engaging with it.
Sorry,
for
go
the
ahead.
next couple of
You were
weeks.
saying?
The posters that I've seen have
Yes.
changed it from what I was wanting from the film, which is something darker,
Yeah.
but it's starting to look a little bit like a 13-year-old girl's sticker book.
Yep, it looks a little cartoony.
And
I
I'm
agree.
just kind of like, let's hope they haven't lightened it up too much.
I think that's just the different approach, you know.
Yeah. I like the
marketing
design.
doesn't always reflect the movie.
No, but it just feels a little bit like I was, looking at posters that are almost the cover of Tiger Beat rather than, the ones that are, traditional. But again, I suppose this is not a traditional take on the comic book characters or the comic book movies, because we've just seen straight, very serious, visual representation in marketing for things like, the Batman movies and that kind of thing.
It's like, I've almost tuned out the marketing because I don't want anything else to be spoiled. I've seen enough from Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Ticket bought.
I'm genuinely excited to see it though, so I'm looking forward to it. But I'm
All right, we got some other Warner Brothers stuff to talk about. We'll stick up in Burbank for a little while.
Okay.
Simon, you mentioned something about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child movie. I don't care about this.
Well, this is a
Talk
rumor that
about
was
it.
going around this week. As you know, in the West End of London, there's this new play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Parts 1 and 2. There's a rumor this week that Warner Brothers could be looking at turning that potentially into a movie. Obviously, they've got Fantastic Beasts coming out this year, and so they want to. I mean, it would make. There's nothing to say at the moment, really, that this is actually going to happen, but it would not surprise me because Harry Potter continues to be. We see the hype around the world that J.K. Rowling's, completed. Everything from theme parks. The Harry Potter Wizarding World opened at Universal Hollywood a couple of months ago, and so Harry Potter, and that's packed out on a regular basis. The Harry Potter brand is still very much alive. A lot of anticipation about the new book as well. So I think. If there was the chance to do it, Warner would be remiss not to do it because there is money. What they would need to look at is obviously there was the controversy over the recasting of the characters and what they look like in this. Would they then consider going back to the original casting, or would they continue the casting style from the West End play, so having non-white characters? Would they carry that through? That would be quite interesting to see whether they do that. I would thoroughly assume that we wouldn't see the return of the original cast, or certainly in the lead roles, because I don't think they would have aged enough to make it realistic. So they'd have to recast that side of things, I would imagine.
Who would play the Cursed Child?
I'm gonna go with Kevin Hart. No, but I think they would have to do, they would have to sort of look at, it would be great to see sort of Daniel Radcliffe and Emma and Rupert and everybody coming back and doing flashbacks, and if that's what they wanted to work in, because I think they would possibly need to have some representation of them in there somewhere, but I don't think they could bring that original cast back to do these movies. But I think if it's something that's on the table and available to Warner, I think to discount it as something they're going to do would be churlish. I think they'll be mad not to do it.
Churlish. That's a great word.
Yeah.
But
don't you disagree?
To quote our pal Elma,
and it's doing big box office theatre-wise in London.
To quote my friend Elma Imbe, meh, pass. I do not give a shit about Harry Potter. I saw the last movie in the franchise. I saw how it ends. I don't care. I don't care about any spin-offs.
Evie Party 97
I don't care about Fantastic Beasts.
is saying, that's going to be good, by the way. Another Harry Potter movie, why not? One of these franchises Warner Brothers proudly owns, and one of the franchises that Warner Brothers does very well with. They do make great Harry Potter movies. So, yeah, I think if it's available, Warner would be mad not to do it. And I would welcome it. I like the Harry Potter.
I'm sure Warner Brothers will be doing it.
I'm not the biggest.
You worry.
I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, but I'd be interested in seeing that.
Sticking up at Warner Brothers and New Line.
Yes.
We got our first look. We're not going to take calls today.
Okay.
We got our first look at Pennywise the Clown.
We did.
In It.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, it looked great.
Oh. I thought people were going to be quite angry about that this week because it is another film that people, feel very...
Hallowed ground.
Yeah, it's hallowed ground. But I think it's going in the right direction. Visually, I like it so far.
Yeah, it was a great first photo. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm
super
excited for this movie. Yeah. And staying with Stephen King, we also got our first look at The Dark Tower.
We did.
Which is supposedly a sequel to Stephen King's series. That was a kind of a big revelation that we were, it had been rumored, but wasn't quite confirmed yet.
Yeah.
But that's why people like characters like Eddie, I guess, and a couple of others are not in the film.
Yeah.
They're not in the story. Maybe we will meet them in subsequent editions if this one does well. I've dug all the photos that I've seen of, Idris Elba in costume and Matthew McConaughey wearing a lot of black, I guess. It's a good color on him. I didn't read The Dark Tower.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
No.
I'm not super into this project the way a lot of our favorite sites are.
Yeah.
But I have faith in Nikolai Arcel, who wrote one of the Dragon Tattoo thing. He did that Department Q trilogy that I was telling you
Yes.
about recently.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting.
People seem excited. It's on the cover of the Comic-Con issue at Entertainment Weekly. That's a big deal.
It is.
That's prime fucking real estate.
And what I'm just really looking forward to seeing is a good, solid adaptation of Stephen King work, because there hasn't been one for a while.
That's not true. That is not true.
What was the last one?
Did you see 11/22/63? That was technically a Stephen King adaptation.
Yes, strictly
good.
it is. Yeah, it is. I have not seen it.
Dude, watch that on Hulu. It's really good.
Okay.
And that's James Franco.
Well, I should watch that before I cancel my Hulu subscription this
That
week.
is our boy, James Franco.
Yeah.
Couple of other things happening this week. We got about 12 minutes left in our show.
Cool.
Did you see the La La Land trailer this week?
I haven't had a chance to watch it, but it is on my list of things to do today.
It takes 2 minutes. Simon.
Mate,
We're gonna
I've
we'll
been
watch
really
it
busy.
together after this while we
Okay.
hold hands. La La Land looks beautiful.
Yeah. I saw a lot of chatter about it this week. I haven't had the chance. I like to sit down and watch a load of trailers on Fridays, but I haven't seen that yet. But the
That's
chatter
like
was
your-
very positive.
that's your
I saw
trailer
you
time?
raving about it. Yeah, I take
I wasn't.
my Friday
I
lunchtime
actually
is trailer
wasn't.
time.
I wasn't raving about it. It was a good trailer. It didn't. I mean, there was no There's barely any dialogue. It was just like a kind of beautiful song that Ryan Gosling sings. Again, the movie looks gorgeous. It sort of has a similar visual palette to A Punch Drunk Love, which is a movie I didn't love.
Okay.
I don't know. I have a lot of faith in Damien Chazelle, and I think that the casting upgrade will work out from, originally this was going to be Miles Teller and Emma Watson, and now it's Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. And Gosling's obviously a singer in his own right.
Yep.
Miles Teller, I don't know if he has a voice or not, but anyways, La La Land looks terrific. It didn't look that good. You didn't watch the Rules Don't Apply trailer yesterday?
Didn't watch that this week.
That's another one where it's like interest does not apply. Warren Beatty's been working on this Howard Hughes movie for years.
Yeah.
It had like this
And that's the one that's got the
slapsticky-
new Han Solo in, right?
That's right, Alden
Yeah.
Ehrenreich, and a lot of people will be checking out that movie probably just to see what he's all about. Didn't look good. A lot of names. Didn't look good though. Loving, I was mixed on. You didn't watch any of these trailers.
Didn't watch
Loving,
any of them. I haven't watched any trailers this
White
week.
Girl. Oh man, that's too bad. All right. Anyways, I guess we can't really talk about trailers that much. The Go trailer came out last week.
I saw that.
Okay, what'd you think of that?
Yeah, good.
Are you excited for it? I mean,
Yeah, I am. I mean, it's not a film that has been on my I'm getting particularly excited about this list. But
well,
it's
it
certainly
should, because I thought it was terrific at Sundance. It is on my standouts list. If you
Yeah.
ever read the Sneider blog, I just didn't like how they were selling it. It is a movie about frat hazing. That is essentially what it's about. But it didn't focus on the protagonist who has PTSD essentially.
Yeah.
And that's what makes his whole pledging experience different. And it was kind of just telling like the Spring Breakers version of the movie, which I think is unfair. But by the way, that movie also stars James Franco.
yeah. I mean, I there was a lot of talk around the film, obviously, at festivals. The trailer, it had me intrigued about the film, but it didn't make me want to go. That's actually going to the top of my must-see count lists. But I mean, I think the casting is interesting on that. And it certainly looks like it could potentially, bring something to the table. If it doesn't,
This kid Ben Schnitzer is great. Nick Jonas is actually pretty good.
yeah, he's good. I mean,
kid
if you've seen
named
Camp Rock, you wouldn't know the Jonas Brothers are any good at acting.
There's this kid Jake Picking who plays like the pledge leader at the front. I don't know
Yeah.
what the fuck you call him. Pledge master. Sorry, he's in Patriots Day. He's a nice up and coming star.
Yeah.
I thought he had a good look to him.
You see, now Patriots Day is a film that I'm
Yeah,
pretty psyched about.
me too.
I can't lie about that, and I love the posters that have already gone
Oh,
online.
with the shoelaces
yeah,
and everything,
really,
and the American
really
flag.
nice.
Yeah,
I think they're really stylistically on the money.
And again, that's Lionsgate and CBS Films. Lionsgate has Tim Palin working on its marketing side. I think he's still there, and he just has a brilliant eye for posters.
Well, I think at the moment there are. I think the art of the poster tends to be quite lost these days, unfortunately. And a lot of PR agencies, they go, here's a poster for this film, here's a poster for that film, stick it online. And a lot of the posters are meh, But there's a couple of posters around at the moment that I think are really effective. And one of them is a film that I'm seeing tonight, Lights Out.
You're seeing Lights Out tonight?
Seeing Lights Out tonight.
Oh, damn, I should cancel my dinner.
Do you want to come and see it with me?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. If you want to.
No. I'm probably not going to cancel my dinner, but thank you.
Okay, so
I appreciate that.
Food over little bald fella. That's okay. That's all right. I know where I am.
I very much appreciate it. You're a good man.
No, that's cool. So I mean, that is a great poster. Again, that's a poster. I mean,
it's just a light switch.
Yeah, and it's like
strip
but
switch.
It works.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't
creepy as
take
fuck.
a lot to make a great poster.
Every poster,
but there's
should
a lot
have
of
duct
shit
tape
posters
on it.
out there. Yeah, I love it. It's great. But yeah, no, Patriots Day, a stunning poster.
And by the way, before I get to we're going to wrap up the show with some quick news bits. Star Trek Beyond getting good advanced reviews. I know
saw it this
you're
week.
probably embargoed.
The full reviews are embargoed
But you can
until
give your
the 20th.
impression?
Yeah, and I put a tweet out on this if you want to go through my timeline. I really enjoyed it.
I don't. Where's the rank on your...
Okay, I shall repost it after the show.
In the links.
Put it in the show notes. Yeah, I really enjoyed it as a film and as a Star Trek film.
Better than Into Darkness?
Yeah.
Better than the original?
On a par with the original.
The original I thought was good,
Yeah.
but I didn't care for the Eric Bana villain. It was very forgettable to me.
Well,
does this have a good antagonist? Can you say that much?
Yes. Not again. It's not a case where the villain. Same with the first film. It's not where the villain is an overriding factor.
Right.
It's not like, say, a Bond movie.
Right.
But the villain is great.
Good point.
But really, for me, the thing about Star Trek Beyond, and this will not be a full review, but was the way that a lot of the characters have been developed. So people like Bones, Kirk, Spock, Simon Pegg has written a great script, and he's taken that forward in a really nice way. It was interesting to see there were a lot of die-hard Star Trek fans who were in there. Jim from IGN was in there.
It seemed like it was all die-hard Star Trek fans.
Scott Mance was in there. But not everybody came out particularly happy, but the Star Trek fans, well, I'm really satisfied with that.
It felt like a Star Trek movie to them.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Again, I know you can't say too much.
No.
Anton Yelkin, though, good like tribute. I know it won't be his last movie, but is it dedicated to him? Is there like a title card?
At the end.
That's a classy way to go, Paramount.
And obviously there's a memoriam for Leonard Nimoy as well. There's a mention for Leonard at the end of the film too, because two people from this film. For this franchise, have now passed in the last 18 months.
Right, terrible.
But yeah, it's at the end it's done really, really nicely. But Simon Pegg turned up to the screening this week to introduce it. He's very proud of this. He should be very proud of this. Okay. He's done a really great job, and he's avoided the pratfall of being a fan of something and making it too fanboy.
And did Gay Sulu have a big impact, or was it
no?
It was just
that's again to me handled really nicely.
Okay, cool.
So not a full review, but just some first thoughts on it.
I won't push you any further.
I will be posting a full review on Forbes, which again is embargoed until the 20th. Cool. I think it's 7:00 in the morning where the embargo lifts. But I will also be posting on Forbes this week my interview with Carl Urban that I did yesterday. Here in LA, I got to have a chat with him. Really interesting stuff about Star Trek and some other projects and stuff as well. So that'll be worth checking out. A few little stories in there.
All right. Okay, we're gonna just end the show with a quick some news bits.
Sure.
Colin Farrell, male lead in Sofia Coppola's Beguiled remake.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I like Colin Farrell, and I think
he's been making good choices.
He's been
lately.
making some very strong choices recently. Not the biggest roles, but strong choices.
I think that this is a pretty intriguing role for him, and he's got 3 really good actresses that he's going to be working with. Chiwetel Ejiofor joining the cast of Mary Magdalene with Rooney Mara and Joaquin Phoenix. Those are 3 kind of powerhouse actors. I don't know how interested I am in seeing them in a Mary Magdalene movie, but
can't
argue with that level of talent.
That's fantastic talent.
There's going to be an X-Men TV show
There
from
is.
Matt Nix.
Wrote a piece about this for Forbes this week.
What do you think?
I think it's interesting. I mean, it doesn't seem that different to what we've seen previously with X-Men. It's parents who find out that their kids have got mutant powers, chased by the government, team up with a load of mutants,
a family
etc.,
on the
etc.
run.
Yeah. I would be intrigued to see who they cast and which way they take it. I think it's probably the best extension for X-Men right now.
And we don't know which mutants, right?
We don't know which mutants,
Okay.
no. But I mean, I was more interested in the idea of Hellfire becoming a TV
that's
show,
done.
but that's been shelved.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Did you watch Matt Nix's show, Burn Notice?
I've watched some. I didn't get massively into it, but I like him. I like his work. I'd be interested to see what he does with this. It's certainly a bigger ball pool to play in. So.
Okay. Zendaya joining the P.T. Barnum movie.
Yeah.
The Greatest Showman on Earth with Zac Efron, Michelle Williams, and Hugh Jackman. That's another kind of interesting project. The circus is kind of... The magic of the circus, I think, is hard to capture on film. But I really like the idea of Hugh Jackman playing P.T. Barnum.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really interesting story.
And again, that's a cast that's coming together really, really nicely. Even rumored cast.
I don't know what Zendaya is really like as an actress yet, but willing to give her a shot.
That's something that's really interesting because she is being cast or certainly associated with a lot of projects right now, but we haven't really seen what she can do.
Spider-Man Heat.
So, yeah, but we'll see.
BuzzFeed is doing a Brother Orange movie. This was a story that went viral in 2012, 2013, around then. A guy who sort of lost, I think he lost his iPhone, and someone in China wound up with it. And, they started taking photos, and they wound up in his, iCloud. And then he went to China and met this guy and became, this Chinese celebrity. It's kind of a great story. I don't know... this would be BuzzFeed Motion Pictures' first film, but it's intriguing that now we're seeing these media companies get into the business of movie making.
Yeah. I think, as a studio, as a young studio, I think they could certainly do some interesting things with it. Obviously embracing the social media side of things and on the technology side of things, I think it's probably a good studio to take it on and do it and right audience to aim at. But, we've yet to see anything really come particularly strong from any of these other online content
they've
makers.
got a lot to
So,
prove,
like
we'll
YouTube
see.
Reds has not really worked particularly. So it'll be interesting to see whether that hits and is a success or whether it's something that's an achievement that's just that.
It all depends.
So...
And finally, last but not least, Teen Beach star Ross Lynch cast as Jeffrey Dahmer in My Friend Dahmer, based on a great graphic novel by Nerf Bachter, hell of a name. Highly recommend checking out that graphic novel if you haven't. And that's going to do it for our show today.
Yeah.
Simon, where can the good folks find you?
You can find me at Showbiz Simon on Twitter, at Showbiz Simon on Instagram, and this is Simon Thompson on Facebook, but also websites like Forbes, etc., etc.
And I'm Jeff Sneider. You can follow me on Twitter at The Insider. We are off next week.
I'm at Comic Con. Say hello if you see me.
That's right, but we're going to be back July 29th with a special guest, Ethan Anderton from Slash Film.
What?
Until then, rate, comment, subscribe to the Popcorn Talk Network, and have a good weekend, gang.
Tell your friends.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.